Hi guys, Darth Deuces here, back on their Star Wars action figure review. Today taking a look at another really cool older piece from way back when, another set that I've been looking for a very long time now. It is the Star Wars Legacy Collection comic pack of Darth Talon and Cade Skywalker. I'm a really big fan of the Legacy comic series. I have all the trade paperbacks. Yeah, I really love the story, really love the characters from the story. And these are a couple figures I've been trying to track down for a long time, and found them for a price I was willing to pay. Definitely didn't get like a crazy good deal or anything like that, but it was a reasonable price considering. And yeah, let's take a look at it. So I'm gonna take a look. I actually got this mint on card, so we'll take a look at it in the packaging first. But I am gonna open it, despite maybe not being the wisest decision. But yeah, I absolutely love these comic packs. I wish it's something they still did, or something they'd bring back or whatever. I thought it was cool. Comic book, two figures, and because it's coming from comics, it was usually two fairly unique characters from the expanded universe back in the day. And this one's a pretty cool one because two pretty high profile characters. Darth Talon's a figure I've been looking for a long time now to add to my Sith collection. And Cade Skywalker's the main character of the book, so it's really cool to get him as well. And he's a pretty unique Skywalker at that. But you do have the comic pack packaging, and the comic book does make up the majority of the backdrop there. And you got an image of Darth Talon, image of Cade. Then on the back, there is a bit of a write-up there if you want to read that. Picture of the figures, and then some other comic packs I assume were part of the same wave. I actually own almost all of these. I own the Imperial Knight set. I think I reviewed these. I don't actually remember. I remember I definitely recorded a video for these. I can't remember if I actually put it out or not, but I do have that. I also do have this set with Leia and Toby Doll. I reviewed these a long time ago, a number of years ago now. The only one I don't have is the Fen Shaisa and Dengar 2-pack, which I would like to track down at some point, at least the Fen Shaisa, but not a huge priority for me, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, one interesting thing actually from the packaging is that there are, I could be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there are versions of this 2-pack sealed that have Cade's lightsaber, and there are sets that do not. Mine, unfortunately, does not have his lightsaber, and I can't see it anywhere else in the box. So for some reason, there are releases of this 2-pack where they include Cade's lightsaber, and there are releases where they don't. And I decided to get this because it was a reasonable price, and I figured for the price I could sacrifice not getting the green lightsaber. I have extra ones I can give Cade, it's not a problem. But looking around on eBay a bit, I have seen other people selling this set where he doesn't have the lightsaber, and then I've also seen people selling the set where he has the lightsaber, he's holding it, and there's also a unlit hilt that's in a spot in the middle, and where you can kind of see where the lightsaber blade would have been, where he was holding the saber. This packaging doesn't have the slot in the middle where his unlit hilt is, so it's just really strange to me. I don't know why there'd be two variants where they just don't include his lightsaber. It makes no sense. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna crack this open and we'll take a close look at the figures. So I got them opened up out of the packaging, and they're both really great figures. They live up to reputation as being pretty solid. Both have aged actually pretty well. Sometimes these 30th anniversary figures, I know a lot of people speak highly of the 30th anniversary, and I do still think it's probably one of the best 3 3/4 inch lines that they've ever done. 30th anniversary in Legacy Collection, this is technically Legacy Collection. But there were some weird releases and some weird design choices back in those years, but luckily these figures don't suffer too much from that. Real quick, you do get the comic. It is issue number 2, and what's kind of interesting about these comics that they include with the comic packs is they do technically have unique or different covers, because like mass retail covers have like prices on them and whatnot, but this one doesn't have that. It's a bit cleaner looking on the front, which I always think is pretty cool. But it's good. It's good comic. For appropriate, features both these two characters fairly heavily. I'm a really big fan of the artwork that's done mostly throughout the entire series here. I don't know who's the artist here. There's a few different. There's inks and there's pencils that you can see the credits for there and the colors and whatnot. I think a lot of these people also worked on the Republic comic series. It looks very similar art-wise, or looks the same. But yeah, great story, great art. If you have not read Legacy, I would definitely give it a read. There's Darth Talon there. Good bit of action in this one too, which is nice. But anyways, that is the book, and I'm sure that's not the most important part that you're wondering about. Is of course the figures, Cade and Darth Talon. Definitely the one I wanted the most was Talon, because this collecting all the Sith is in 3 3/4 inches that they've released is something that I've been trying to do for a long time. But I wanted them both pretty equally, because Cade is also very important. He's like the main character. So I'm going to talk about Cade first. And he's really cool. I really like him a lot. He's got a very interesting design, which you'll know why if you read the books. But yeah, I really like the this whole pirate bounty hunter get. He's got the big trench coat, the little shoulder pad there, and a bit armored up and whatnot. Head sculpt, I think the sculpt is actually pretty good. The hair looks good, the goatee, I like the expression, kind of a cocky smile. They even sculpted and painted his earrings there, which I think looks pretty nice, honestly. Just the paint for the eyes is just not the best. Your left, my right eye here is okay, but then the other eye looks like he splashed on way too much eyeliner, and it's not even with the other eye, so it just looks bad, honestly, which is a little unfortunate, but it's not too bad. And of course, depending on what you get, your mileage could vary for what you find online and whatnot. I do like the paint they put in the hair. It really adds quite a bit of detail to that. You even got quite a bit of wash on this shoulder pad here on the coat. And the coat itself has a really nice kind of like this gray like dust fade at the end. And I really like the sculpted detail of the tattered edges of the coat here. Also made of a really pliable plastic. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be pretty rigid and maybe restrict a fair amount of articulation, but it actually flows and moves pretty easily, which is nice. I like all the sculpting work. It makes it really look like a rugged leather jacket, which is very cool. It's even got like the little buttons painted silver on the cuffs, which I just feel like is details you probably wouldn't get in today's vintage collection for the most part. He does have the torso armor there, which has a nice like black detailing, almost Mandalorian-esque looking, honestly, with the little centerpiece there. One weird thing is that this chest piece had a bunch of like gray stuff on it, and I thought it was weathering, but it scraped off so easily that there's no way it was intentional. I have no idea what it was, and I don't want to know. But just keep that in mind. You might have to wash off your figure's torso. It was really weird. But you got the rest of the armor there painted in bronze, and it looks nice. The belt looks good. He's got these pants here, kind of leather looking pants, almost Darth Vader looking pants, honestly. And the big, the shin guards with the big knee guards that also kind of look like Darth Vader's a little bit, if I'm being honest. And then the boots there. Great looking figure for the most part. Obviously, there's some cons here and there, but overall looks pretty good. In terms of articulation, actually articulated pretty well. He's got a ball joint in the head, the old style, obviously, but it gets actually a fair amount of pivot, rotation, down and up just a bit. Hinges at the shoulders go out pretty far. They rotate. Hindered a bit by the coat, but not too bad. Ball hinges at the elbows that go about 90. Swivels at the wrist. Actually, the ball jointed torso. Not a ton of crunch movement or pivot, so it's pretty much more like a rotation, but it is there. Swivels at the hips. A hinge at the knee, and hinges at the ankles. So for its time period, it's really well articulated. And even for this day and age, obviously not up to current standards, but has aged fairly well, all considering. You can definitely pose them around a bit. In terms of accessories, like I've already talked about, depending on, I guess, what type of version you get of this set, he could come with his lightsaber and unlit lightsaber hilt. As far as I know, they are unique to this set if you get that version. But of course, as you saw, mine didn't come with those, so we can't talk about that. So for me, all he came with is his unique gun. And I really like this gun because it's basically like a Star Wars version of a sawn-off double-barrel shotgun. And it's really nicely sculpted and painted. Out of the two accessories, I'm glad at least he included the gun over the lightsaber, because I think the gun is the cooler accessory. But it's very nice. I like that a lot. And of course, he can hold it in his hand. allegedly. There you go. Hold in his hand. That looks good. Unfortunately, no wrist hinges for up and down, so he does kind of hold it at an angle, but it's not too bad. Yeah, I like that a lot, though. That looks super cool. And then he does actually have weapon storage for it. There is the holster there on this side. You can store the gun down on the holster there and hang it off his hip there. So that's very cool. But now we will talk about Darth Talon, and she's really great. A figure I've been wanting to add to my collection for a long time. Probably be the last Sith Lord from the old EU figures they put out that I'll add for a while. I think the only ones I'm missing are unfortunately all the really expensive ones that I haven't tracked down yet. I think I'm missing Darth Malvale, which maybe I'll find an okay deal on at some point, but I'm not too crazy to find him anytime soon. And I'm not willing to spend crazy money for him because he was like a side character. Darth Nihil, I doubt I'll ever get that figure unless I get really lucky. That figure's stupid expensive now. Who else? And yeah, Exar Kun and Ula Keldroma, which obviously I think are a couple of the most expensive modern Star Wars figures of all time. So yeah, probably won't own those anytime soon, but I'm glad to have Talon. And she looks great. We do not have very many female Sith, and I don't own many Twi'lek figures either. So Sith Twi'lek, I'm all on board there. And a fairly fan favorite character, I'm sure, for different reasons, various reasons, of course. But I really like the paint here. It's pretty clean for the most part, and she's got a ton of intricate tattoos, Sith tattoos. So I'm pretty impressed actually with the crispness of the application of these. It could have been pretty messy, but it's pretty well done. And I really like the face as well. The Sith eyes are painted pretty nicely actually. And she's got the little headdress thingy that looks pretty good. And if I'm being honest, if you were to like re-release this figure with like face print, it wouldn't be much of an upgrade. I think she looks pretty good the way she is. Cade could definitely use it, but Talon looks pretty good. Then the rest on our chest there, just yeah, tons of painted detail of those tattoos. You do have the top, or what it can be considered a top, I suppose, and got the armor, I guess. She's got gauntlets on and the arm pieces. You get the little loincloth thingy, which is a somewhat pliable plastic. It'll get out of the way. And you got the Talon booty with, again, a lot of nice painted details for those tats. And then the leg armor actually looks pretty good as well. I like that a lot. Yeah, interesting design to say the least, but looks good. Looks good. Articulation-wise, she's also pretty well articulated, with one exception. But she does have a ball joint at the head. She can look down an okay amount. Can't really look up because of the Leku get in the way. But it rotates fine. And you get a bit of, a fair amount of pivot actually. It's not bad. Hinges at the shoulders that move a lot. I'm not gonna have any issue with those. Then the weirdness is she has no articulation in the elbows. You cannot bend them at all. There's not even a swivel cut or anything. I feel like this is kind of common for female figures at the time, where I guess because they're female and their arms are skinnier than a lot of the male figures, maybe they felt that adding elbow articulation would make them more susceptible to break or something like that. I don't know, but they didn't include it with this figure. And another figure from the year before this came out, the Dark Woman, also didn't have elbow joints. She's not exclusive in this issue. That's not too bad because she still has swivels at the gauntlets here. So with the hinges at the shoulders and the swivels, you can still get like decent articulation, but it's just you can never like bend her arm, and it is a fairly big hindrance. She actually has a ball jointed torso, which actually has a fair amount of crunch, a lot of back, but you do expose that hinge joint. Not really any pivot, but there is rotation. Waist doesn't swivel, doesn't need to, but you do have swivel hips, which kind of okay with, because this figure with ball jointed hips might have looked pretty ugly, but they didn't do a whole lot of ball jointed hips back then. And she has hinges at the knees, and she even has hinges at the ankles, so leg articulation is pretty good, and overall articulation aside from the elbows is also pretty well done. Again, Not quite up to today's standards, but has aged fairly well. Yeah, yeah, she does look really good. And I do like, another thing is that the red that she used for her skin tone or tats, whatever they're supposed to, I don't know if the red's part of the tattoos or not, but is also fairly consistent. Because I imagine some of it's plastic and some of it's paint. But I think they did a pretty good job making it consistent. And she even has the tattoos painted on the hinges, so when you have her arms like normal, they match up. And even when you move them, they match up again. I don't know, that's kind of cool. Anyways, in terms of accessory, she just comes with the one, which would be her lightsaber, but that's all she really needs to come with. I can't think of anything else she could have came with, really. And yeah, hilt's really nice. It's unique to her, I do believe. It is painted in silver with a black wash that looks really nice. It does have a red blade. You can't actually remove the blade on this one. And the hilt's actually made of a pretty pliable plastic for some reason, but that's fine. And yeah, ports in nicely. And she can hold that in her hand. And it looks pretty good. She holds it nice and securely, no problem. The other hand is a bit more of an open, so it does kind of look like she's using the Force a bit. It's pretty cool. And you can definitely pose her decently, I think. Swivel hips, unfortunately, are pretty limiting, but you can make it work. That looks all right. Oh, okay, well, she tipped over, but still, you get what I'm going for. If you work with it, you can get some okay posing anyways. But I'm sure you know at this stage in the game, swivel hips are limiting, but they're expected for this year, this era of Star Wars figure. So yeah, pretty good set. I'll do some really quick comparisons, I guess. No, not really anything to compare them with, honestly. It's just how they look with some other figures from Legacy, which I don't have all of them, but here they are with Antares Draco, one of the Imperial Knights that I think looks pretty good. I do like that Antares is a little taller, because I've always felt like he's kind of a bigger guy in the comics. And then here is Talon with Darth Krayt, definitely one of my favorite figures in my whole collection. And they look really good together. I'm glad to at least have these two. Krayt in one of his right hands, so that looks really good. But overall, that's about it. It's a really great set of figures, especially if you're a fan of Legacy and you've read the books. Like I said, I love the Legacy series. It's awesome. So I'm really happy to have these. It wasn't a cheap set. I got mine. I mean, after like I paid taxes and stuff, I probably paid around 150, 160 for the set, which, yeah, it's not cheap considering this 2-pack probably went for like 20 bucks back in the day. But for me, it was worth it. I mean, Talon alone, even loose, can go anywhere from like 90 to like 120 depending. And Cade can go from like, he's still much cheaper, but he can still go for like 30 to 50 potentially, around there last time I checked. So they're not cheap figures, but if you're a fan of Legacy and you can get them maybe for a fair price or a price you're willing to pay, I definitely recommend picking them up. They're really well made. They aged pretty well, which I think is important. And I don't think they'll ever make another Cade Skywalker figure. I'm going to be honest. I can't see it. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I just don't see them making Cade ever again. So this is probably going to be your only option. For Talon, I don't know. Can't really see her getting a TVC release anytime soon, if ever. With the releases we've been getting from Black Series lately, I could maybe see them doing a Black Series figure someday if they were so inclined. But honestly, I don't see them releasing Talon, man. The way she's dressed, I'm sorry, I can't say. I like her design, but if they're not going to do Slave Leia, they're not going to do Darth Talon. I'm sorry. Anyways, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.